And listen, I can't hit on everything. I hope you understand that. But I do have videos on so many of these other topics, like will Saquon Barkley be back at full strength heading into the start of the season? What should we expect from Dak Prescott? And so much more. So check everything out on the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel. Once you're done with this one, let's dive into it. But before we do me a solid. If you enjoy these videos, you think they helped you, hit that thumbs up. It's huge for us here at Awesemo. Subscribing to the channel as well. Help us hit that 5,000 subscriber mark and continue to grow this channel so we can keep putting out great free content. Let's do it. The Steelers have definitely been one of the more difficult teams to figure out this offseason. So hopefully we'll begin to get some answers in training camp. Ben Roethlisberger's coming off a season where he attempted 608 passes and threw for 33 touchdowns while finishing as the QB 14 on the year. But things unraveled late in the season as the Steelers dropped 4 of their last 5 games after starting the year 11-0. Here's the thing, though. Pittsburgh had a really easy schedule during their winning streak, but they also got absolutely screwed by COVID-prompted rescheduling, having to play 3 games in 12 days and 4 in 20. That's a ton. Roethlisberger couldn't have looked worse as that grueling schedule came to a close, but 2021 is a brand new year, even if he isn't getting any younger. I'm actually not even here to talk about whether or not I think Big Ben is going to have a big year. And I mean big from a fantasy perspective, if you know what I mean. But more so to talk about the huge discrepancy in where he's being drafted compared to the rest of the Pittsburgh offense. Check this out. Najee Harris has a second-round ADP, despite the Steelers' offensive line still projected to suck. While Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and Juju Smith-Schuster are all being drafted inside the top 7 rounds. Roethlisberger currently has an ADP of 193 as the 27th quarterback off the board. So it seems like there's a clear disconnect here. Let's see what this team is looking like over the next month and maybe start fine-tuning our decisions. So the question is, if this entire Steelers offense is being drafted inside the 7th round with confidence, shouldn't Ben Roethlisberger be getting some more love? Or are we just overvaluing this entire Steelers offense for 2021? It's got to be one of them. I'll leave the answer up to you. No one wants to talk about the Jets because, well, they're the Jets. But you couldn't count on one hand the teams who have more question marks on offense than New York heading into training camp. Actually, you might not be able to count a single team that has more uncertainty from a fantasy standpoint than the Jets. First off, the backfield, a total unknown. Michael Carter was drafted in the 4th round and has an 8th round ADP in fantasy, despite having no idea what his workload is going to look like. Tevin Coleman's being drafted 7 rounds later and followed both his head coach and offensive coordinator over from San Francisco. Could he be the week 1 starter? Right now, I'd rather take my chances on Coleman as a super late round pick with very little risk. There's also LaMichael Pirine and Ty Johnson, whose roles are clearly undefined as well. And what about the pass catchers? Corey Davis signed a 3-year, $37 million contract this offseason and is coming off his best statistical year as a pro, posting 5 games of 100-plus yards in only 14 starts while averaging 10.9 yards per target and 15.1 yards per reception. Yet he's being drafted behind rookie Elijah Moore, who is yet to play a single snap at the NFL level. And let's not forget that while his role could be downsized, Jamison Crowder is still on the roster, and Denzel Mims was a 2nd-round pick just 1 year ago. All of this is to say that we have no idea what's going on in New York. And that's not even taking into account that a rookie quarterback in Zach Wilson will be under center this year. Believe it or not, there are a few teams that I'll be paying closer attention to in camp than the Jets this summer. You should be doing the same. Carson Wentz was so bad last year that he led the league in interceptions and was 2nd in fumbles despite playing only 12 games. It was the type of season you'd think a quarterback could never come back from. But we're about to find out whether or not that's true. Wentz's offensive line was in shambles last season, and his pass-catching group was comprised of mostly cast-offs and unknowns. The play calling from Doug
Welcome to the Awesemo UFC DFS strategy shows. We're here to break down UFC Vegas number 33 that goes down on Saturday inside the UFC Apex there in Las Vegas. It's a fight card that has gone through some changes. We've lost some fights. We've had a fighter step up here on fight week to take a fight, but we're going to break it all down for you. Of course, at the end of the show, we'll give you our straight up fight picks. Also, do want to thank our sponsor, Monkey Knife Fight. We'll talk about some of the player prop lines that are over at Monkey Knife Fight. We're doing the show here on a Wednesday evening, not in our normal afternoon time slot there on Thursday, because my man Pete is getting on a plane tomorrow. What is up, Pete?
What's up, Jason? What's up, everybody? How you guys doing?
I'm doing good, bro. I've been, let's see, I was in start of the morning in Tampa, made the hour and a half trek over to Orlando, did a show over there, made the trek back to Tampa. Now I'm here talking to you.
Yeah, that's
by the way, talking a little MMA judging a little earlier today. That was a little bit of a storyline of last week's show. Hey, I had an off night last Saturday night. I had an off night.
Hey, it happens. Yeah, last week was weird. Some terrible officiating, if we're being honest. Some questionable scorecards. I think it's going to be, make for grounds of discussion going forward. I think that there are some really important people that are going to start to possibly make a change. I hope. But it's just a weird card. It was a weird card.
You're funny. You're funny.
Yeah.
My podcast comes out on Sunday.
Make sure we tune in. That's right. I got to hear that.
I'm not expecting a lot of changes, but I do know it was a hot topic at the ABC meeting on Sunday about the scoring there. Chris Lee, do you know how to write the number 8 to score a 10-8 round? Like that's very much a question mark for me.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the Kyler Phillips fight really screwed a bunch of my parlays. I had him as the last piece. And I thought he was, on his way to having a dominating win and possibly finishing inside the first round. And then I was like, okay, maybe these takedowns. First round, I scored 10-8. And then, the rounds after that, he really gassed. And it should have been a draw, in my opinion, which would have saved my parlays. But if he was, awarded that victory, of course, that would have really, really helped me out. But it goes to show you that a lot of judges don't feel comfortable writing a 10-8. But that was pretty decisive. Multiple knockdowns, damn near finishing his opponent on top, control, brutal strikes, unanswered shots. I mean, that is literally by the book, a 10-8.
Yeah, I mean, 3 knockdowns that matchup, and Keith Peterson, he gave the hey, there's only 10 seconds left in the round. Yeah. I'm going to give you a chance, but man, that there, Miranda Maverick, I thought won 2 rounds to 1. I'm not sure how the judges scored that one 2-1 Macy Barber. And I mean, look, the main event, it was a close fight. But my only issue with it is I don't know how Sal D'Amato scored the 5th round for TJ Dillashaw. That's the only one that was stuck out to me.
It's interesting because you can't get taken down so many times throughout, an MMA fight, and based on the criteria, expect to win, given the sport. But as far as the fight, and I thought Brendan Schaub talked about it, pretty well on his podcast. As far as the fight was considered a fight, Sandhagen won the fight, but I thought that TJ Dillashaw, within the rules and the scoring standards, I thought that he did enough to win that fight because of the control and the takedowns. You can't get taken down over and over and over and over, and just be controlled throughout and expect to win. But it was a very close fight for sure. Definitely close fight.
Of course, before we start getting into UFC Vegas number 33, do want to let you know that one of the best ways for you in a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum is to review your favorite Awesemo podcast, of course, part of the Awesemo Podcast Network, because most of our shows are available at awesemo.com/podcast. And be sure, submit that 5-star review of your Twitter handle or Awesemo username so you'll be entered to win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. One winner is awarded every Friday. Reviews are eligible to up to 1 year. Plain and simple, this is most likely your best chance to win a free month of Awesemo Plus, which is valued at about $90. So head over there right now and leave that 5-star review on the Awesemo MMA feed there, whether you want to listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever that may be. But Pete, let's get right into this one. Main event of this fight card, Uriah Hall versus Sean Strickland. And I will tell you, so I'm doing my show yesterday. My co-host mentioned to me, we're talking about Strickland Hall, how this fight, what you expect out of it, a stand-up fight between these two guys. And he goes, Uriah Hall is a plus 180 underdog in this one. And I was like, what? I was shocked. And then I pull up the DraftKings line. I see Uriah Hall 6,900. Boy, that's a great value play this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to Mexico tomorrow. I'll be sipping on margaritas all week. I think whoever's in charge of DraftKings was sipping margaritas when they came up with these salaries. I don't know. Some of these salaries are extremely questionable. Uriah Hall, 6,900 in the main event. Obviously, his volume is not the best because he's a counter striker for sure. He waits for the perfect shot, describes his style as a sniper. Strickland comes forward a lot with questionable defense, but, pretty good offense where he likes to throw, likes to engage, get into a firefight and get into like an ugly exchange. Now, I think for the majority of the time, Strickland will probably dictate the pace and the direction of this fight because of his forward pressure. But in saying that, I think Uriah Hall could be two exchanges away from finishing the fight because of Strickland keeping his hands so low. And with all that being said, this is a pretty close fight. It shouldn't be 9,300 against 6,900. I thought this was going to be the 8,000, 8,200 fight. I think that Uriah Hall 6,900, I mean, the value is just too good to pass up for me, despite the lethargic volume at times. I still think that he can win. I think that he's somewhat hitting his stride. I think the one thing with Uriah Hall was always confidence. And I think that's starting to kind of, create itself and create this new Uriah Hall 2.0, so to speak, where he always had the skill. And I think he had like mental lapses at times. And I don't know. It's an even fight, but I do like Uriah Hall in the matchup, and I favor the counter striker.
I think the question I have in this one is, will either one of these fighters go the takedown route?
And if one does, it's definitely Sean Strickland. And he has the better overall game for sure. He can mix in some takedowns and make this an easy victory by taking Uriah Hall down, solidifying rounds. The longer he stays up with Uriah Hall, the longer he is chancing getting knocked out by a spectacular kick or a counter right hand, to be honest. Strickland's going to be winning the fight until Uriah Hall lands that shot. I wouldn't be surprised to see Strickland walk away with a decision, but the value is just too good to pass up for DraftKings for betting. If you want to, step aside on this one, I don't blame you. But on DraftKings, Uriah Hall 6,900 is going to be the chalk of the week.
And as we do this show, the FanDuel salaries are not out. Those usually come there on Thursday. Now, Uriah Hall, he has been on a nice little winning streak here, winning 4 in a row, but he is 5-4 in his last 9 matchups. Those losses against Robert Whitaker, Derek Brunson, Gegard Mousasi, and Paulo Costa. So all, top of this division here. But let me ask you this. Who is the best win during his last 5 fights? Christoph Jocko, Bevon Lewis, Antonio Carlos Jr., Anderson Silva, Chris Weidman.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say because like the Weidman win, you didn't really get to see much. Anderson Silva in his retirement fight, essentially. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, maybe it's Jocko, but that's some time ago. That's 4 years ago. And Jocko's style is, come forward, pressure, mix in some takedowns. I think that, this is a very interesting matchup, and Sean Strickland could bring the best out of Uriah Hall. But, my friend Hunter in chat's saying that, he views Uriah Hall as a KO or a bust. And I wouldn't disagree with that, to be honest. But, at 6,900, he can do enough in a decision if it goes the distance or in a low volume KO win to really break through at 6,900.
Yeah, I mean, look, Uriah Hall is just one of these guys. He is a tough fighter to trust just because of that counter-striking style. And just he is a guy that I think we've always been waiting for kind of that breakout performance, especially against, upper echelon. Now, one of the things you have to note, Sean Strickland's been training at Extreme Couture, and Uriah Hall has done some training there. Of course, now they're at Fortis, but by far, I mean, look, this is not a sexy UFC fight card. You can't, you just gotta be brutally honest about it. It's just not a sexy fight card. I was interested in to see what Chris Daukaus would look like against Shamir Abdul-Rahimov. Abdul-Rahimov pulls out of this matchup. If you're not following Chris Daukaus on Twitter, he had a great tweet in relation to this one. But, this is, I mean, the price point of Uriah Hall just makes him so intriguing there on DraftKings. It'll be interesting to see where FanDuel does put him at. Of course, be sure to like and subscribe to Awesemo right here on YouTube. Of course, we do have free premium data and tools over at Awesemo.com today. If you want to get a peek behind what is behind the paywall, you're not an Awesemo Plus member, MLB main slate ownership projections, and PGA top golfers tool are the free premium data and tools over at Awesemo.com. Of course, so we got great shows for you each and every day. All the PGA guys do a great show to get you ready for all the PGA events. So be sure to subscribe to Awesemo, hit that notification bell, and give us a thumbs up. We really do appreciate that as well. Let's move over to the co-main event of the evening. Kyung Ho Kang, 8,500 against Ronnie Yaya. You think it's honey? Listen to the Anakin Florian podcast. They do the pronunciation of the week. They played the audio file for how we have always called him, Honey Yaya. He calls himself Ronnie Yaya. He has Americanized his name.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's still like embedded in my mind and in my memory from his days in the WEC of Hani Yaya. But I will go with Ronnie Yaya because he's not corrected it, but he's kind of molded it for his American citizenship. But I will say that his MMA game is incredible. He's a phenomenal BJJ practitioner. Jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. We saw it where he went in there and made quick work of his last opponent. But matched up against Kyung Ho Kang, this is a very interesting matchup because I always talk of what can give Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys problems, and it's strong wrestlers or judo-based fighters that can somewhat stuff takedowns, punish them on the feet, and somewhat avoid getting their back on the mat. Hani Yaya or Ronnie Yaya will look to implement takedowns from the get-go. He can stand up, but he's really, really comfortable on the mat and works towards submissions better than anybody else. I think that Kyung Ho Kang can actually, give some problems to him on the mat because of his amazing takedowns. If you go and you watch some tape on Kyung Ho Kang, he has excellent takedowns, good hips, and hips are huge. Hips are huge when it comes to grappling and scrambling. And if he can, utilize those good hips in certain situations, I think that he can avoid some dangerous spots against Ronnie Yaya. So with that being said, Ronnie Yaya is one of the best underdogs on the entire slate because of what he can bring to the table if it hits the mat. He's an armbar away, a choke away from getting a finish. 7,700. Consider him in your underdog pool for sure. But I'm actually going to side with Kyung Ho Kang in the fight. And I think that his top game, his striking, and his takedown defense can be enough to get the victory here.
The thing that always concerns me with Yaya is the fact of if the fight hits late second, early third, late third round, is that cardio going to be there? I mean, look, if you're Kyung Ho Kang, I mean, I don't think you necessarily want to play on the ground because of just the jiu-jitsu abilities that Hani Yaya has. But I would agree with you. I think it's 7,700. Looking at somebody that if he's going to win this fight, Pete, you would imagine it's going to be by submission.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't really foresee him going out there and winning 2 rounds against Kyung Ho Kang if it's just pure grappling because of Kyung Ho Kang's scrambling ability. I think that he'd have to work towards a finish. Now, with all that being said, Kyung Ho Kang is extremely confident in his grappling, which could end up, resulting in a problem. If, he shoots in for a double leg, gets a little too comfortable with that because he's able to do it against every other opponent and every training partner, and he leaves his neck out there, Ronnie Yaya is going to totally capitalize on a situation like that. So that's why he's one of the best underdogs on the slate, but I'm favoring Kyung Ho Kang.
Let's move on to a female matchup. We got Cheyenne Bays taking on Gloria DePaulo. Cheyenne Bays, 8,900, 7,300 for DePaulo. And I mean, look, the biggest thing you remember from Cheyenne Bays outside of, telling her opponent, I'll follow you home, bitch, is the fact of she got head and arm throw the entire fight.
Yeah.
That is what scares you, but I don't think she's got to worry about that in this matchup.
Yeah. I think that on paper, she might have overlooked her previous opponent. And when she fought Montserrat Ruiz, she really got schooled with a head and arm throw multiple times throughout. But there were times where she was able to reverse position or start to show some life, and then she get head and arm throwed again. So I don't think she'll have to worry about that in this matchup against Gloria DePaulo. I think she's going to be able to go out there, showcase her good hands. She has solid striking, and she's aggressive. And I think within this division, she could actually become a force once she gets the ball rolling. I think that she's going to kind of, grow within the division over time. I'm not out of the Cheyenne Baez business. I think that she's the better fighter in this matchup. Gloria DePaulo, was taken down a lot against Jin Frey in her previous fight.
Yep.
And,
couldn't get off her back.
She couldn't get off her back. And Cheyenne Bays can implement takedowns. It's just that Montserrat Ruiz was the better wrestler. So that game plan was out the window, and she was the one getting out grappled. I think that Cheyenne Bays is the way to go in this matchup. It's just a matter of, do you want to pay up at 8,900 for a fight that could possibly go the distance and probably will? There's a lot of fighters on this card. So I'm okay with getting different and being a little underweight to her, but I do think that Cheyenne Bays is the way to go.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there. Now, of course, when you want to get the access to all the great tools and data we have over Awesemo.com, you got to sign up for an Awesemo Plus weekly pass for $29.95. This gives you full access to all the great premium content we have over Awesemo.com, from ownership projections, player projections, and so much more, including access to our premium Slack channel. And if you're a new user of Awesemo Plus Platinum, then you can take advantage of the promo we have for this show. We use the promo code MMA Strategy Show. That's one word, all caps, MMA Strategy Show, for 25% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. And of course, if you're only looking for an MMA weekly pass, you can get that for $8.95. Stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus today. Are you drinking a White Claw over there? Are you getting ready for Mexico?
No. It's a Red Bull. It's the best flavor Red Bull. It's the coconut berry Red Bull. I haven't started drinking yet. You guys know I don't drink a lot, but I'm telling you, I'm going to make up for it on this trip. So, tune in on Saturday. It's going to be a good time. I'm going to hopefully be able to connect and have a nice little live before lock show with you guys.
Oh, Lord, I'm going to troll you the next couple of days. I'm just going to text you with margarita pictures just to see if you respond. See if you respond.
You won't even have to worry about it. I'll be saying margaritas and selfies all day long.
Anyone knows you are not you're not the big drinker.
No.
Me, on the other hand, I've been known to partake.
There we go.
Next up, we got a matchup that literally just came together within the last 24 hours. Nicholas Stolze taking on Jared Gooden. 7,000 for Nicholas Stolze. For Jared Gooden, he is no salary right now for him in terms of this one. And Stolze was supposed to take on Munir Lazez, who was priced at 9,000. Pete, this is going to be a hard one to get away from on DraftKings just because of the pricing.
Yeah, I like Nicholas Stolze here in this matchup against Jared Gooden. I like Nicholas Stolze in his debut. I was impressed by his debut. I thought that Romanov is lethargic at times, but is a very, very powerful grappler. And I think that he did all right in that. Ameev, I said Romanov. Imagine if he was fighting Romanov. Ramazan Ameev has some solid wrestling and just kind of dictated the pace of the fight by slowing it down, putting him on his back at times. But Nicholas Stolze is a very, very dangerous striker and is aggressive technically everywhere. I think he can actually light Jared Gooden up on the feet, because Jared Gooden absorbs a ton of strikes on the feet and just kind of sits there and stays there and gets hit a lot. I think we could have one of the best plays on the entire slate here at Nicholas Stolze, 7,000. Not sure what Jared Gooden's price is going to be, but I don't like him in the matchup. He's stepping up on short notice, training hard. I know that he's been, in the room with some talented fighters, but I just like Stolze going forward. So why wouldn't I like Stolze in a matchup against a guy who's stepping up on short notice?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the betting odds, if you got legit DraftKings prices here, you'd probably be in these 8,700, 8,800 for Nicholas Stolze. Jared Gooden has lost both of his fights in the UFC, so this could very well have been a situation where he may have been on the verge of getting cut anyway, and the UFC told him, hey, we got an opportunity, gives you another fight in the UFC, makes you kind of, I think the weigh-ins are going to be very interesting to see what he looks like on the scale. I mean, I think that's part of the evaluation, but look, I expect that Nicholas Stolze is going to be very highly owned this week, and it's because of that price tag. Now, I will say this, if you do think that this fight goes 15 minutes, maybe, that even at that $7,000 price tag, even a decision win may be hard for him not to be optimal.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fights, so who knows? You never really can predict everything correctly, but I will say that Stolze is going to be very difficult to get away from. I like him everywhere. I think that there's chances of him finishing his opponent, but there's also a high chance of him just dominating throughout. So Stolze's a guy that's going to be a staple for a lot of my lineups.
By the way, I don't know if you got our premium Slack channel up or not. K Sizzle goes, hey, Pete, Can I collect my 50 push-ups on the stream today?
Not on stream, but I did the 50 push-ups. I'll give you another 50 tonight. But yeah, man, that first fight of the night was just so volatile. I mean, you noticed it. Belbita looked good. And then Hannah Goldie, just if she took her down earlier, got on top position, it was a wrap. Like she did so well.
And that's why you avoid the first fight of the night.
But yes, but no, but like, you know what I mean? This the points galore because it's GPP volatility and you need that.
Yeah. I mean, that was one, I was watching that before I went out last week and I was just like, oh God.
Yeah.
And thankfully I did not roster a ton, but I'd roster a ton of Shajara Eubanks and man, that was just
I loved it. I loved it when like she allowed her opponent to hit her from bottom. She's like, go ahead, hit me. And then she hit her and then she just totally blasted her with a couple combinations. And I was like, yeah, man, Eubanks, that was a broken orbital. So like, you know, Eubanks looks legit, but obviously that's against not UFC competition, right? We want to see her look like that against some ranked competition. And I do think that she has the skill set to kind of go far, you know, in women's MMA. She just has to figure out the weight cut, which I think that she did, and kind of just like stay committed to the game. And I think she'll be all right.
Yeah, no question about that one. Let's move on. Next up, we got Ryan Benoit taking on Adeshev. Benoit 8,300, 7,900 here for Adeshev. What's your take?
Well, you know, Zaruk is I'm cool with Zaruk. We were in the same locker room, so I'm cool with him and his whole crew. I think this is a very winnable fight for Zaruk. I really do, because Ryan Benoit doesn't really throw a lot, but he hits really, really hard. So the A side's definitely Ryan Benoit because of his power for the division. He hits so hard and he has more ways to win, I would say, than Zaruk, if we're being honest. Whereas Benoit can get knockouts and he could possibly get a submission because he is decent in jiu-jitsu, training under Gary Tonin as of late. Zaruk is primarily a striker with some decent throws, but you know, he hasn't found his stride in the UFC yet. Granted, you know, he was knocked out pretty bad one time against Tyson Nam, and you know, Ryan Benoit hits pretty similar to Tyson Nam. So I think that he has to be on his P's and Q's. But if he can't finish the fight, he needs to really just outwork Ryan Benoit, and you know, volume's the way to do it. I think that if you are looking for GPPs, I would probably say that Ryan Benoit has a higher ceiling because of the finishing, whereas Zaruk could easily steal a decision in this fight. And I'm going to be rooting like crazy for him, because I really hope that he does get a victory here. But Ryan Benoit, I think, will be a staple for a lot of people's lineups in hopes of getting a finish in the fight.
Do you know, prior to his takedown against Tim Elliott back in 2019 or 2020, excuse me, Ryan Benoit had not gotten a takedown since 2015.
Yeah, because I mean, he was the guy that found power and he fell in love with his hands. And when you're knocking some people out, or you're hurting a lot of your opponents on the feet, why would you try to do something else? You have a gift for that division. That division doesn't necessarily have crazy power punchers. I mean, that division's known for going the distance. And when you can possibly be different, you want to utilize your skills. But I think that you saw it in the Tim Elliott fight where his scrambles were better. He was actually hunting leg locks in several situations. And I wouldn't put it past them to possibly find a submission. But Ryan Benoit, I would say is the side to play. Zaruk is a decision type of choice at 7,900.
Now, the most expensive fighter here on the slate is Brian Barbarian, 9,600, taking on Jason Witt at 6,600. I spoke to Jason Witt about 2 weeks ago at this point. And Pete, I think the most interesting thing, two things he said to me that I found really interesting. He talked about his last fight where he got knocked out in 16 seconds. He said, leading into that fight, he goes, I visualized about how I could win the fight. He goes, but I also visualized how I could lose the fight, how I would get caught. And I feel like that's the first time I've had a fighter say that to me.
Yes and no, right? Like, I mean, I can't speak on your behalf, but as a fighter, like, you think of situations and instances where your opponent can have, you know, an advantage over you or put you in bad spot and how you could possibly overcome it. Like, oh, he's got a good guillotine. So a lot of the times you're visualizing being in that guillotine or him attempting that guillotine and how you're going to get out. But GSP, you know, has talked about it. And he's like, you know, I always think of really, really bad thoughts, leading up to my fight, but it always results with me finding a way out of that bad position or me ending up victorious. Now, if you're having negative thoughts of like, oh, I could get knocked out by this right hand, and you know what I mean? Like then you almost go out there and your biggest fear ends up happening. So it has to be like, you have to go out there and, be aware of your surroundings, be aware of their strengths, and utilize your skills to your best ability. Now, I'll tell you, this matchup, the price is ridiculous on Brian Barberena, 9,600. Like, I like Brian Barberena in the fight, but let's be real. Against Anthony Ivy, coming off of a long layoff, what happened? He was taken down several times by Anthony Ivy, and Jason Witt is a very strong wrestler. So if Jason Witt could get his hands on you, you could be going for a ride. Witt will be looking for a submission, which I don't think that he'll get it, but he could also try to just implement some hard ground and pound. But at 6,600, Jason Witt is in the underdog pool because of the takedowns. And Brian Barberena, the volume, the power, the chokes, I think that he's the A side. And at 9,600, he's too expensive for me. I'll get to him, but I think that he's just a little bit too expensive. But with all that being said, Jason Witt's style is not really typical for Brian Barberena's, success.
Yeah. My second takeaway from what Jason Witt said to me, and the way I just took it, is like, look, yes, I know I'm taking on someone who loves to get in brawls, but he kept kind of missing. This is a mixed martial arts fight. And to me, if Jason Witt's going to win this fight, it is about utilizing his grappling and not getting into brawls. If this can become a grappling matchup, at 6,600, Jason, look, if you decide to roster Jason Witt and Uriah Hall, you can go out and get anybody you want.
Yeah, the salary is ridiculous this week. You're going to have tons of leftover salary. You're going to have tons of salary to pay up for whoever you want. So I wouldn't even stare at the salary remaining. I would just play lineups that you feel comfortable with. They screwed up on pricing this week.
Yeah, this could be a week where you just have a ton of salary left over, and in MMA you don't like to have 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 left over, but this may be one of those weeks you have it. Look, it's Brian Barberena clearly should be the favorite in this matchup, no question about it. But there is a path for Jason Witt to win this fight, and you bring up the great point of what Anthony Ivy was able to do there against it. But yeah, man, Jason Witt, if he can get some takedowns, he definitely has got to be there. Now, another fighter who we have not seen for a long time, Nico Montano, 9,100. We have not seen her since 2019, taking on Yanan here at 7,100. Do you trust Nico Montano?
Yeah, I don't know about trust, but I went back and I watched some footage against Juliana Pena, and Nico Montano actually, she surprised me, because we think of what Juliana Pena is now going to be doing. She's going to be fighting for, a title. She's in a very, very good spot. And Nico Montano actually had some excellent moments in there where she was taking her down, controlling her, pressing her against the cage. She didn't look too small. Yes, she is a little undersized for this weight class, but she didn't look so small. I think of Juliana Pena as being pretty physical, and she was just kind of bullying her in the opening round and the beginning half of round two. I was surprised. I didn't really recall that fight being like that, but Nico Montano, her path to victory is going the takedown route, and that's what she did in order to have some success in her UFC and Ultimate Fighter career. I will say that Nico Montano at 9,100, it's a little rich. But I do think that she's going to get it done. She's going to out wrestle Wu Yanan. Wu Yanan's going to hope to keep this fight standing up, but I see Yanan getting taken down. Jocelyn Edwards was able to out scramble and reverse her in several positions and end up winning that fight. So I have no doubt about it that Nico Montano is going to go in there and get it done.
Do you trust her?
No, come on, man. Come on. I'm not saying trust, but you know what I mean? Like, I think that she's going to win 80% of the time. And I think she goes in there, implements her game. It's easy work.
By the way, she is one of 5 fighters over on Monkey Knife Fight that their total strikes line is over 100. Of course, Monkey Knife Fight is a sponsor of this show. When you use the promo code Awesemo, get instant first match deposit of up to $100 at Nico Montano, 107.5 strikes. Brian Barberina's at 101.5. Cheyenne Buys 113, Kung Ho Kang 103, Sean Strickland 142. The Strickland and Hall one to me is kind of interesting there. Sean Strickland 142.5, Uriah Hall at 61.5. We talked about Uriah Hall. He's a counter striker. He's not a volume puncher, but man, if you're taking the more on Sean Strickland at 142.5, you have to be thinking this thing's going 25 minutes. That's a lot of strikes.
It sure is. And, a volume guy going up against a counter striker might be a little bit more selective because you know how dangerous your opponent is.
I will tell you the other one that kind of does stick out to me is the Adeshev Ryan Benoit line. Adeshev 54.5, 81.5 for Benoit. I might go less on Benoit, more on Adeshev.
I think I'd go less on both, honestly. I think that an exchange or two could happen and somebody could get hurt and finished.
Yeah, there is some interesting lines out there. We'll tell you they right now there's not a prop there on Stolze and Gordon, but be sure when you sign up over there at monkeyknifefight.com, use that promo code Awesemo for an instant first match deposit of up to $100. By the way, Samuel, appreciate you there in the super chat. We will get to your questions there at the end of the show, as we always like to give our fight picks. And then Samuel, always appreciate your support here of myself and Pete here on Awesemo with your super chats. That is much appreciated. Let's move on. We got a UFC debut, someone that I am very familiar with, in Colin Anglin taking on, I'm not going to try to butcher that guy's name. I'm going to try to butcher it.
Bogdasarian. That's what I'm saying.
All right, cool.
Bogdasarian. I'm interested in this fight, and I think that this is going to be a volatile fight because of how they both like to fight. Bogdasarian is a phenomenal kickboxer, has actually fought some of the best kickboxers out there, and in MMA, he's pretty green, so he does not have the wrestling advantage in this fight. That would be Colin Anglin, who has the wrestling advantage, and they both like to strike. But I think that the pressure and aggression of Bogdasarian is interesting. He throws a lot of head kicks, likes to tie up and throw tons of knees and elbows. We could be looking at a knockout here, guys. So, unlike the previous fights where I had some firm stances on some fights, I will split exposure here. And I think that it's important to do so. I'm interested to hear your take on Colin Anglin because you have some inside information about him over the years and his style and what he likes to do. But from my assessment, he likes to keep his hands pretty low and he likes to throw a lot and he's aggressive. I wouldn't say that his defense is the best, but his aggressiveness makes up for it. So, and I did notice that he was able to, change levels and take people down if he needed to. So he's definitely the more well-rounded fighter here at 7,600, but I like the head kicks and the aggressiveness out of Bogdasarian. I might wait for my Jason Floyd little input right here before I really, weigh one way or another. But I already can tell you that I'm going to be splitting exposure.
Well, Colin Anglin initially out of that Michigan regional scene, he was a longtime training partner there with Cody Brundage, who we saw on the Contender Series. We've seen in LFA. When Cody made his move to Denver there to Factory X, Colin Anglin moved with him as well. So he's been there at Factory X. He's been at Factory X for probably a little more than a year at this point. Mm-hmm. And, obviously Factory X is a gym that we've talked about here. He's supposed to make his UFC debut earlier this year, had an injury to pull out of the matchup here. He's a guy that I'll be honest, I do wonder if he got to the UFC a little too quick.
I was looking at his record and I could see that. And, when I saw him, I watched his fight again, on the Contender Series, he looked better than what I was anticipating. He did kind of impress me in that situation, but if you want to be honest, Bogdasarian's, this is like a tailor-made matchup for a guy that's somewhat green. They're both green. You got a 5-1 fighter in Melsik Bogdasarian against Colin Anglin, who's 8-1. Bogdasarian definitely is a little, inexperienced as far as grappling and wrestling. And if Colin Anglin goes out there, exchanges with him, changes levels, he could win this fight pretty handedly. I'm interested. I'm interested in the matchup, honestly. I will have a slight edge to Bugzarian, just slight because he's a little bit more defensively sound.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Next up, we got Garcia taking on Grutzmacher. Garcia, the second most expensive fighter on this card at 9,500. Grutzmacher at 6,700. I can hear that little smirk there.
Bro, I'm telling you, bro, they were throwing back shots, making these salaries. I mean, goodness gracious, Rafa Garcia at 9,500. When I was watching tape, I was like, immediately I was, pulled in Garcia's direction, because in his UFC debut, he didn't look bad at all against Nasrat Haqparast, who's one of the most dangerous strikers within the division. And Rafa Garcia really thrives in grappling situations. So if he can implement a takedown, that's really where his game starts to accumulate, and he starts to win rounds and work towards a finish. But he was forced to stand in that fight. I didn't think he did too terrible. At 9,500 against Chris Grutzmacher, I think that he can hurt him on the feet, take him down, work towards a submission, or pound him out. I mean, Grutzmacher's really been slumping here. In his past 4 fights, he's 1-4. Only win is over Joe Lozon, and he's been finished 3 of his past 4 fights. So you're talking about Rafa Garcia probably priced up correctly, but it did surprise me. I got to be honest, 9,500 surprised the hell out of me. There are weeks when we have Valentina Shevchenko, Amanda Nunes, all these incredible fighters that don't really reach these crazy salary heights, and we have Rafa Garcia at 9,500.
Well, that's what happens when you're a minus 320 betting favorite, Pete.
You're right. I know, but we've seen worse, right? We've seen worse. And it's a lot. It's a heavy line for a guy in his second UFC fight, but I do think it's correct. I think he gets it done.
Look, right now at this point, and you mentioned about Grutzmacher, what he's done here in his recent bouts, to me, it's just, you can't trust him going to this one, but it's a high price that you got to pay there for Garcia. Of course, we will talk more about the fights here in a moment, but do want to profile some of the people that have gone into the Awesemo Hall of Fame. Of course, you got to be rocking that Awesemo avatar on your DFS profile to your wins. To add Awesemo HOF, you'll win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Only one free month can be awarded per user per calendar year. Congratulations there to Joey taking down the mini max there over in MLB over on the DraftKings side of thing. Also, Joey coming in first place there in the PGA Showdown there. Congratulations, Joey, for hopping into the Awesemo Hall of Fame. Malakar coming in there with the MLB over there on FanDuel. Kudos to him there. Nice there with Polanco, 50-point outing there for him. Also, JB Guru, congratulations to you win there over at the DK MLB and a 3 max there. And also we have some NBA series over there. Congratulations, Casa, splitting there in first place as well. Gingerbread coming in there in an MLB contest as well. Also, Leo coming in a MLB contest as well. As I mentioned, if you want to get into also a Hall of Fame, all you got to do is finish in the top 3 of a contest with over 5,000 contestants. Tweet the wins to @Awesemo HOF. You win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Only one free month can be awarded per user per calendar year. Always love to see those screenshots after the events are over. Let's move on to the next matchup. This actually might be one of the most interesting fights for me on this fight card, and that's Danny Chavez and Kai Kamaka. 8,200 for Kamaka, 8,000 here for Danny Chavez.
I'm interested in this fight because it's a striker's delight. Both guys like to strike. You have Kai Kamaka, who I think has a slight power edge here. And I think that he has a takedown advantage in this matchup as well. He's, priced at 8,200. And I like his aggressiveness. Danny Chavez, I think, let a lot of people down in his previous performance against Jared Gordon. But Jared Gordon utilized excellent leg kicks and takedowns. And that's how he really nullified Danny Chavez on the feet, zapped his energy, and then he was kind of a sitting target for the rest of the fight. I think that, Kai Kamaka can do the same, but I don't know if he'll really go to the wrestling so early. He can to solidify rounds, but I do like him. I like the camp that Kai Kamaka is coming out of. I like his power. I'm leaning towards Kai Kamaka in the matchup, honestly. And, I think that with Danny Chavez keeping his hands so low, his chin's up in the air, he likes to bomb leg kicks. He could get hit with some shots and rocked, but this will be a tit for tat type of fight until Kai Kamaka starts to press forward.
I like Kai Kamaka in this one. I mean, you mentioned about it. I think from a fan perspective, I think it's going to be a fun one to watch, but I do like Kai Kamaka in that matchup. Now we got a female matchup, Junyoung Frey taking on Ashley Yoder. Ashley Yoder, 8,400. Junyoung Frey, 7,800 in this one. To me, Pete, this is kind of a recipe for a 15-minute fight. Yeah,
it does. And, I might be out of the Junyoung Frey business. I know that she got a decision last time out where she, implemented some good takedowns, but her striking volume is just lethargic. It's really non-existent. The victory was against DePaula. She scored 72 points in the win, was trying to work towards a finish. It didn't come. And, being an atom weight and now being, at 115, I think that she's just going to be undersized. And I know this is like several fights at 115, but I just think like she's going to be somewhat undersized for a while. While, Ashley Yoder over the years has been fighting, natural 115, people dropping down from 125. Like she's been tested in the UFC against some legitimate competition. And you can go and look at Ashley Yoder and you see all these L's. But I mean, like Angela Hill, Mackenzie Dern, Randa Marcos, Lavinia Souza, like, you know what I mean? Like that's like solid competition. And I think that Ashley Yoder's wrestling will be enough to stuff some takedowns from Junyoung Frey, get some takedowns of her own. And I wouldn't be surprised to see her just kind of like piece her up on the feet because Junyoung Frey just doesn't do enough. At least it seems that way in the UFC. She doesn't seem like the best fighter, the same fighter that she was outside the UFC. So it's Ashley Yoder for me at 8,400. I like her quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think if she can go that takedown route, I mean, you look at the fight she had against Miranda Granger, having over 151 total strikes land that fight, 8 minutes of control time, 2 takedowns. That would definitely be the path. And that's something that where you got to use our ownership projections and try to find those leverage plays and, maybe find that fire that no one is getting to. Maybe it is Ashley Yoder, or maybe it's not Ashley Yoder this week. But to me, it comes down to takedowns. And I'm just like you, what we've seen in Junyoung Frey in the UFC, I've just been disappointed, honestly.
I have not been impressed at all. And it's like, okay, well, and this is why, like, I'm not saying to take notes when you're fighting, but it's important to remember your reactions to certain fights so that when they're booked, in advance or in the future, you're like, oh, okay, I remember how I felt about that person. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I want to fade him. So like, let's talk about Romanov. Like when Romanov's gas tank was so terrible this last time out. And then when, the going got tough and he started to look for a way out, maybe we're a little suspect about him and saying, you know what, let's pump the brakes a little bit. He's still a little green.
Oh, are you talking bad about your guy?
I'm not talking bad. I'm talking facts. Whereas, Tom Aspinall.
I thought you were the president of the fan club.
I love Romanov, but I like Tom Aspinall more. Okay. I think I even said that if those two were paired up, I have Tom Aspinall winning.
So you're basically saying you have a bigger man crush on Tom Aspinall. Is that what you're saying?
My boy. I like him. I like Tom Aspinall.
I get you there. We got 2 fights here left. We got a matchup between Ronnie Lawrence and Trevin Jones. Trevin Jones, 7,500. Ronnie Lawrence, 8,700. Trevin Jones, a guy that came into the UFC. I'm very familiar with him. When I initially met him, he was trained over in Guam, initially from the U.S., moved to Guam, then ended up coming to Vegas and betting on himself, saying, you know what, I'm going to be here in Vegas in case a short notice opportunity happens to come about. But to me, this is about Ronnie Lawrence.
My goodness. The saying is, will lightning strike twice? And it feels like it did. I mean, Trevin Jones beating Valiev. Okay. And then popping for banned substance, marijuana. So, okay, he doesn't get credit for that victory. Then Mario Batista, knocking out Mario Batista. Like, man, this guy's got some dynamite in those hands, and he can put anybody to sleep. So, you have to be very careful. But I did not expect this out of Trevin Jones. Admittedly, I didn't. And I think that he's going to be extremely popular at 7,500. Just people looking to get a little contrarian, but how the heck can you get away from Ronnie Lawrence? I mean, the king of pressure, the king of pace. I love what he does, man. He's relentless. His striking, his punches, his kicks look excellent. His motor is nonstop. His wrestling is relentless. He chains together takedowns, transitions. I'm telling you, it's like the Energizer Bunny. he's ridiculous. 135 points in his UFC debut against Vince Cachero, 3rd round KO TKO. The upside's tremendous with him because he'll probably accumulate a ton of stats and get a late finish. So I mean, that's kind of what you're looking for, man. And Ronnie Lawrence, hold up. He stole my damn nickname. His nickname is The Heat. Ronnie the Heat Lawrence. What in the world are we? Oh, Ronnie. Oh, man. Okay, I'm still in the Ronnie Lawrence business, but man, that's wrong.
Them fighting words, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's wrong, man. That's wrong.
By the way, nice little caricature you put on your Twitter handle the other day that someone made for you.
Yeah, somebody made me that. It's pretty cool. It's whether it's for my Twitch, my Twitter, or whatever. I thought that was pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, it was really cool there. But to me, I'll be on Ronnie Lawrence in this one. 8,700. Like you said, you gotta love the pace that he brings.
It's ridiculous. I mean,
well, you say he brings the heat.
That's my line. What the hell? Okay, but yes, I'll give him the heat pass. He's been breaking people, so he gets the heat pass. He's been phenomenal. 8,700, steal of the week. I like him quite a bit.
That might be a little bit of a troll line on Saturday as you're sitting in Mexico.
Yeah,
right. By the way, we do have 2 new YouTube channels that you need to subscribe to. If you love what we do for DFS and you're going to love what we do for season-long fantasy football and sports betting, yes, fantasy football season is here. All the training camps have started. Preseason football is 10 days away here. Wow. So by the way, just click that link pin in the YouTube chat, subscribe to those channels, and make sure to turn on those notifications too, as we will be producing sports betting and fantasy football content around the clock. So make sure to stay up to date with the videos from your favorite Awesemo hosts. If you want to check out some of the free content we are offering right now, you can find our fantasy football rankings in front of the paywall on the Awesemo.com fantasy football tab. And for sports betting, you can check out the Awesemo odds tab for access to Odds Shopper and our MLB betting tool, which includes our sports betting model and player props tool. You got to hit up Odds Shopper when you're trying to find the best lines on the game. That's our player prop that you're looking for. There is definitely a go-to there for me. And yes, fantasy football is here. Football season's here. It's crazy.
I know, man. It's crazy. I haven't even started my research, so I got a lot to catch up on.
So much can happen over the next 3 weeks, bro.
True. Very true.
So much can happen. As someone who has been in the NFL play-by-play broadcasting business for 16, 17 years, yeah, a lot of things happen these next 3 weeks.
Yeah, right.
Injuries will happen.
I know. Unfortunately, they will.
Yeah, they will happen. So we got one more fight here left, the opening fight of the night. Koski taking on Rowe. Koski, 8,800. Phil Rowe, 7,400. Is the opening fight of the night a must roster fight?
I think it might be. I've been pretty firm on some stances and some sides, and I think that this is a split where you need to split your exposure because of the unknown surrounding both fighters, right? Orion Kosi has, some good power, and we can look back on his brother's performance, Louis Kosi, where a lot of people were heavy on him because of his knockout ability, his wrestling chops. He can mix things up, but his cardio somewhat abandoned him, and he was a sit and duck, and he got absolutely destroyed by Sasha Platnikov. So, I'm not out of the Kosi business for both fighters, but I feel like they could be overvalued, honestly. They might be. They're undefeated. Orion Kosi still undefeated, and I think that he could be somewhat overvalued, excuse me. And, fighting Phil Rowe, who's going to have a massive reach advantage over him, is going to be a very difficult puzzle to solve. And I think that a damn near 10-inch reach advantage for Phil Rowe is going to be a lot. But when Phil Rowe gets hit, he gets rocked and wobbled. But I have to tell you, Gabe Green wasn't able to put Phil Rowe away. And Gabe Green is a pretty solid fighter. And, he hit him with some big shots. And, what did Phil Rowe do? He was able to reverse some positions on the mat, has some awesome half-guard sweeps, has some sneaky sub attempts where he likes to, hunt some guillotines as well. But he's long, rangy, puts together combinations great, and could punish a guy who has an adrenaline dump or really just has terrible cardio. So for me, I'm calling upset of the week. It's going to be Phil Rowe over Orion Kosi. But like I said, split your exposure. Orion Kosi has, some really good wrestling, but his scrambling ability is actually just like not too good. And it actually surprised me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, if you've been listening here for the last 40 minutes, so I think the one takeaway you got to take of there's multiple fighters to put in your underdog pool when you're going in the cruncher and you're saying, give me, one or two of these guys.
Yeah, for sure. It's a weird week, right? Weird week, weird fights, weird matchups, and you mix that with some strange salaries. You're going to have an interesting optimal lineup. So, of all weeks, get different this week.
Now let's go up our straight up fight picks. These are not DFS related. These are just straight up fight picks. The main event, Uriah Hall, Sean Strickland.
I'm going Uriah.
I picked him on my show yesterday. I'm going to pick him again, Uriah Hall.
Yeah, I'm going Uriah Hall.
Yeah. I would go Kung Ho Kang against Ronnie Yaya.
Yeah, I'll go Kyung Ho Kang as well.
Give me Cheyenne Buys.
Same, Cheyenne Buys.
Nicholas Stolze will be my pick there.
Stolze as well.
I'm pretty sure we're going to agree on this one, Adeshev.
I'm going to root for my boy Adeshev. Yeah.
Barberena and Jason Witt.
I'm going to go Barberena.
Even though Jason Witt, my guy, had him on my show multiple times, I think that the smart pick here is to go with Brian Barberena, but there definitely is a path to Jason Witt winning this matchup. I do like Nico Montano, even though long layoff, always concerned about that.
Same, Nico Montano.
I will go. Do you go Colin Anglin, or are you going to go with the favorite there?
I'm going to go with Bogdasarian. I'm gonna give a shot with him.
I will agree with you there. I will take Garcia against Grutzmacher.
Garcia.
Give me Kamaka against Chavez.
Kamaka.
I will take Ashley Yoder for her wrestling.
Yoder.
I will go Ronnie Lawrence.
Ronnie Lawrence. Hate you.
And even though the reach disadvantage concerns me, I will take Koski.
Okay, I'll go Phil Rowe.
So, of course, let me mention Samuel in the super chat is coming with his typical questions. Top 2 cash, top 2 GPPs, underdogs, MVPs. What's the KO over or under? Leverage plays, upset plays. Love the show. Shout out. Let's talk about the upset plays first off, because there's a lot of ways we can go here, Pete.
There's a lot of ways you could go. If you want to just strictly look at it from DraftKings salary, Uriah Hall 6,900, I guess, but upset. I'm gonna go Phil Rowe, man. That's my upset.
Yeah, I think I would go Uriah Hall in terms of an upset pick.
Okay.
Personally, for me, in terms of that, top 2 cash, top 2 GPPs.
So top 2 cash, right? Rafa Garcia against a guy who's been finished in 3 of his past 4 fights, I think is a strong play. I would probably say in cash, Uriah Hall is probably a good cash play because the salary savings, the 5 rounds, that's probably what I would say.
MVP champion plays here. I think that in terms of a MVP, man.
Might go Ronnie Lawrence.
That's the name I was looking at.
I might go Ronnie Lawrence. The stats are ridiculous whenever he fights. The potential is endless. He has the highest ceiling on this entire card.
Yeah, I think you gotta look there. In terms of if we're just we typically do stoppage over under. So what, we got 13 fights?
Yeah, I do stoppage over under.
13. So let's set the number at let's go. I think we got to do 5.5.
Oh, I'm going over.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going over, bro.
So if it was 6.5, you going over?
Yeah, I think there's 7. You put a trash line. That line of yours is trash. I would be hammering that line. Yeah, even Tyler says bad line. Bad line. Thank you, buddy. Free money. Print those bills.
We'll see who's right come Saturday night.
You're saying there's 5 finishes?
I think there's a lot of potential decisions on this card.
I think Jason's crazy, but it's okay.
Usually I'm the one that shoots for a really high number.
I know. I don't know what the hell you're doing today, but I'm taking advantage of it. Hammering the line.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't know. This card feels just like decision machine.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in the Bellator card on Saturday.
I am extremely interested in the Bellator card. Let's be real. That fight, that main event, that, AJ McKee against Pitbull, it's crazy. It is crazy. I can actually see it going either way. And that goes to show you how legit AJ McKee is. He's so legit. He's so good.
Here's the crazy. So I'm just looking in the show on the Bellator betting odds here, because I know we got a lot of people like to do on the betting side. Depending on where you get your lines at, there is some places that got Emmanuel Sanchez as a plus 100 against Mads Burnell at minus 120.
You like that?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Hold on, I'm pulling them up right now. Bellator. Ooh, main event. Yeah, see, main event's close. Really close.
That's a pick 'em. It's a coin flip fight for me.
Wow.
Brent Primus plus 175 is an interesting underdog play.
Surprised Goiti Yamauchi is not more. Minus 140.
Chris Gonzalez is a really nice prospect they have.
I know, but it's Yamauchi.
Kiefer Crosby at plus 215 is another interesting underdog.
Yeah, I saw that he had like some like intimidation factor about him today. It's pretty cool.
He's been training at Glory. He's an SBG Ireland guy.
Yep.
When I talked to him, part of the reason he came over was the restrictions in Ireland. But the other reason is James Gallagher has been working at Glory there, and James has been trying to get him to come over to the U.S. now for some time. And Georgie, he's done well since returning to 55. He's now on the carnivore diet. I don't know if you've heard about. It's one of the new diets where you eat red meat.
What the hell?
There's a book on it. Yeah. And he told me that he feels the best he's ever felt.
What's he like more violent? Like, I don't know. Like,
he just say he doesn't, there's the injuries aren't there like he's been in the past, that wear and tear of fight camp. So that's an interesting matchup. But I'll tell you, the Bellator card on Saturday is a very good fight card. Of course, we'll be back here on Saturday for Live Before Lock, and we'll see how many margaritas deep Pete is. Maybe Pete's you sit at the pool doing a show.
Under over margaritas on Saturday show. What's the line?
Oh God, Tyler, you are way too high. Way too high.
Tyler's putting up 6. 911 on speed dial. If that's the case, no way.
Look. If I set the number at 2, I might still go under.
I think I might too. Gosh. But hey, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was fun. I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm going on vacation. Before you guys head out, if you could hit that thumbs up for us, we really appreciate it. Tune in on Saturday. Jason, what time are we on Saturday? Say it again.
It's a good question.
Oh, okay.
4 o'clock Eastern time, I want to say.
Well, is it? Hold up.
4 or 5 o'clock Eastern time.
Okay. Well, tune in on Saturday. And if you're not following us on social media, you should. At Jason_Floyd. At PT Heat MMA. I almost forgot what mine was. We always post what time we're going live and our shows and our links to other content. But yeah, man, we really appreciate you guys. Thank you for everything.
Tyler, by the way, is that Eastern time or Central time?
Eastern time.
I would say I think we're getting Eastern time there. We're getting Eastern time, 4 o'clock Eastern time on Saturday.
Okay.
But that is going to do it for this edition of the Awesemo MMA DFS Strategy Show. Of course, also, if you can't check us out on YouTube, can't check us out part of the Awesemo Podcast Network. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Strategy Show. We will see you on Saturday for Live Before Lock. Good night, everybody.